Ziaire Williams has been awesome for the Nets in the opening block of the season, and he was picked up for peanuts, traded for Mamadi Diakite and draft rights for a random Serbian who was selected late in the 2014 draft. Having not shown progression in multiple years at Memphis, Nets GM Sean Marks took a flyer on a low-risk but high-return player. In a largely limited sample size, mind you, the former number 10 pick in the first 5 games of the regular season shot it at a 56-71 split, with a glaring improvement from three-point land. But beyond the box score, has embodied a player Jordi Fernandez will enjoy managing, given what the Nets have shown with their early season philosophy. He has been a pest defensively, given his length and energy, as he's guarded 1 through 4. And it's a main reason why Ziaire's points off turnovers are off the charts, given all those leakouts. And it's very much what the scouting report suggested out of college. A high-energy defender who is a nightmare on the full-court press and very disruptive in the passing lanes. His length and great anticipation on defense leads to lots of deflections. Quick to get above the rim, flies up and down the court, has large upside, and has good instincts. Now, in the long run, there's a very specific lineup I feel could experience a load of success. In the Bucks game about a week or so ago, Jordi Fernandez ran out lineups involving 6'8 Ziaire, second-year forward 6'10 Noah Clowney, and 6th-year center 6'10 Nick Claxton. These three possess wingspans of 6'10, 7'2, and 7'2 respectively. That indicates a painfully annoying defense to contend with when oppositions are attacking. And in the Bucks game, it showed. The net ratings involving these three severely impressive and creating a lopsided advantage in the Nets' favor, no pun intended. Ziaire's versatility guarding 1 through 4 created some problems in the high press, which we'll mention later, and with weaker side defensive coverage as well. Not only was this trio equating to an incredibly formidable defense, but it was proving to be a problem matchup-wise for the Bucks when the Nets were on offense. Take an example as simple as this on the defensive end. Lopez on the entry passes, Claxton manning him on ball, and then Clowney placing himself between man and ball as well, where the ball's headed. Lopez badly misguides the pass, and then you've got Ziaire sweeping across for the steal. The good thing about this lineup is that all three of these Nets were bench players in this game, meaning their minutes were mostly aligning with the Bucks bench, an undersized Bucks bench at that. Here, Ziaire is on the weak side guarded by AJ Green, and the heavy screen by Claxton has Giannis playing drop coverage to an extent, but it creates an easy rebounding opportunity for Claxton as he rolls to the basket. Portis rolls over, but now on the weak side, there's 2 guards for the Bucks and 2 6'8" wings for the Nets. Unsurprisingly, the box out attempt is unsuccessful by both, and the only reason the rebound isn't secured by the Nets is because of self-sabotage. You'll see something to a similar effect about 5 minutes later, except this time it actually results in buckets. Speaking of buckets, Ziaire's three-point shooting. This has been the main talk of the town and incredibly surprising, given his shot it at a 30% clip for the first 3 seasons of his career in Memphis. A great question here from the press, asking about whether the shot mechanics have changed. Here's the response.
You know, I started last year, actually Anthony Carter from Memphis was the first person who taught me how to hop into a shot instead of 1-2. And that's allowed me to get a lot more momentum and flow. And I thank God for him every day, because I really feel like he honestly, in a somewhat, saved my shot.
You look at how he shot the ball 2 seasons ago, you notice this 1-2, and it doesn't seem to have a ton of fluency to it, with the trajectory way off in some cases. That led to a shoddy 26% three-point field goal percentage 2 seasons ago. Fast track to this season, and you can see that subtle little hop, which adds a bit of bounce to the leap on the actual jump shot, and this is what you see on most of his attempts. Ziaire's offensive rating this season, 120, and his second best year, his rookie year, doesn't come close. The way the ball has been moving in the Jordi Fernandez offensive system, well, that's been a huge part of maximizing the reward from this change on his shot routine. I do think the off-ball movement has been a nice part of the Jordi Fernandez offense, which Ziaire has played a part in executing, mainly to get his teammates an open look. One of the reasons why the Nets have put up some very healthy offensive numbers thus far. Dennis Schroeder has been a good driver this season, and here he draws too, with Pat Connaughton rolling over to Claxton. You'll see the switching occur. Portis moves in to box out Claxton. Connaughton is responsible for this space out here, but credit to Ziaire, who cuts in, creates another player Milwaukee have to be accountable for in the lane, and that leaves Clowney open and accessible as Schroeder wraps around. Credit to Ziaire early on in this possession as well, who calls for Jalen Wilson to head into the corner, and this allows Ziaire to roll in as Clowney rolls round and assumes Zaire's previously occupied space. This is a staple of Jordi offense, constant wing movement from corner to corner, and Ziaire plays a role in the open three here. Pretty subtle here as well. Portis has moved across to support in the case of a blow-by on this drive. Clowney and Ziaire start here, but Clowney relocates to the opposite corner. Now on the weak side, you've got Thomas and Ziaire. Clowney's movement freed up Thomas to attack the corner where there's minimal traffic, and Ziaire gets on his bike and bolts to the opposing corner. You can see Clowney will rotate around like last play as Ziaire sweeps across. Now, this creates space for Thomas to attack along the baseline, all whilst keeping DeLon Wright on his right side. And it also keeps Pat Connaughton in between, unsure whether to help or not. By the time Connaughton calls Giannis into becoming a help defender, it's too late, and Thomas has manipulated the one-on-one to draw a foul. It's quite smart game awareness. Check out this example where this identical movement draws multiple defenders and creates a wide open three for Dorian Finney-Smith. Another interesting use that Jordi Fernandez could utilize with Ziaire. Here are some keywords to extract out of the scouting report: full court press, deflections, disruptive, anticipation, good instincts. In the preseason game against Toronto, Zaire's length caused major issues in the full court press and in the half court. The Nets were staring down a deficit in the teens late, but Zaire's defense, comprised of diving on loose balls, deflections and blocks, that was one of the major reasons why the game was brought to under a half dozen in quick time and by the game's end. The way Ziaire carried himself in a preseason game indicates a player with a chip on their shoulder and an attitude that can only be described as positive. The full court press and this early clock ball pressure has seen a mixed bag of results. I think at later stages of the game against both Memphis and Milwaukee, it was incredibly beneficial in disrupting the offensive flow. And that's ultimately how the Nets got separation in these last quarters. There were sequences the opposition could never get it going because Ziaire was picking up the primary ball handler in the backcourt, forcing it out of their hands, and a turnover ensued. Take this example. Ziaire straight off the board, face guarding Ja Morant. He doesn't touch the ball the entire possession, and the Nets win a turnover even though the idea by Wells is right. Fast forward about 30 seconds, there's the length we've been talking about. Ja doesn't come to collect it, assumingly put off by the attention Ziaire is giving him, and the Nets gain another 3 points on the board with ease. Even here, Memphis down 10 with about 3 minutes left, you'd want to hand it to Morant, but Ziaire is on his hammer and they opt to not pass him the ball, knowing Zaire's activity within this game as we've just shown. And when you look at the amount of room to attack into, it becomes even more of a priority to hand it to Ja, given his explosiveness he's shown at stages in this game. But instead, they've handed it to LaRavia, who needs a Euro step to bypass Schroeder. But the help defender is there to contest, and it becomes an absolute mess inside. That is the ripple effect of Zaire's actions. However, against Denver, I think it's important we acknowledge that Jamal Murray punished Ziaire for overcommitting on the high press and often blew by him for easy looks at the basket. I counted this about 5 times. Incredibly valuable moments in a close game. Overall, Ziaire's shooting isn't sustainable, but the signs are positive. The most notable thing I've seen with Ziaire Williams so far, he works his backside off. He grafts for a reward. He's smart and efficient, and I think he'll be a very nice rotational piece for the Nets. A Sean Marks type signing? Absolutely.